Mics off and cameras on for each of you. 2 years, the corporates have, held their guard, especially the PSUs. It's a PSU day, National PSU Day today. And the 2 years they have been insulated from the market vagaries, at least that is what we've been made to understand. And they have contributed in terms of dividends, employee retention, profits, CSR, also corporates, private corporates. But PSUs are very important for this country. They've always been. We'll celebrate especially the PSU's contribution to this country. There's a lady whose voice is disturbing. I'll have to move you out of the show, madam. Okay, let me start with the opening remarks from Brigadier Rajit Apte, celebrated soldier of the Bangladesh 71 war, an opening batsman. He's been there for almost 100 shows. Out of the 170 we've completed. It's not done. Brigadier Apte, opening remarks from your side, sir.
Good afternoon, Shekhar Dutt sir, General VK sir, and the distinguished panelists, Justice Balakrishnan sir. Great honor. Thank you very much, Amit. And as you know, public undertaking refer to the commercial ventures of the government, where they played a big part, a big role. And there are a number of PSUs, financial services, national banks, regional, rural banks, and also those companies which are either government-owned enterprises or government-owned corporations or statutory corporations or nationalized companies in India. They play a role in the overall economic development of the country. And I will just say this much, that the PSUs have contributed significantly to the growth of the country in terms of stability, production, manufacturing, and aiming towards India becoming Atmanirbhar. It's so very much important as we see now the current crisis that is going on in the world, especially between Russia, our dependency on other countries to produce. We must become more independent, capable of producing. So the PSUs play a major role, and I'll leave this as the opening remarks because we need to nurture our PSUs, streamline them, ensure that they are able to perform. Thank you.
Thank you, Brigadier Apte. We've also got very important guests in form of Dr. MP Narayanan, octogenarian, CMD of Coal India. We've got Shri P.K. Agarwal, Chairman of Cotton Corporation of India, who has contributed immensely this year during the agriculture and farmer crisis. And he is the recipient of the Chairman of the Year Award from the textiles category. We got also Shri S.P. Mohanty and his team, the Chairman of BVFCL. Fantastic contribution in the fertilizers category, and they're also contributing to connecting the mainstream and the Northeast as far as the regional dialect or the language issue disconnect is concerned. Welcome, Mr. Mohanty. So now I take it over to General Dr. V.K. Singh, the flag bearer for this wonderful initiative of the last 15 months. And let me also make it clear that he joins us as a friend and a patron, no capacity representing the government whatsoever. Thank you, sir, for your opening remarks on the immense contribution of corporates and the PSUs especially.
Thank you very much, and good evening to everybody who's present here, especially our very senior members, Dr. M.P. Narayanan, Shekhar Dutt ji, Justice Balakrishnan, everybody who's present in various capacities that you're attending this particular seminar. An important issue of what the PSUs are, what do they do, how do they perform, why are they under fire, when do they get out of fire. Let me start by saying that the start of PSUs was basically part of how to indigenize various things, and how to ensure that as the private sector catches up, how do you build a suitable industrial base in the country? They did a great job. Initial stages, because thinking in the country was more socialist in nature, they larger PSUs also became employment providers. They became hubs which engaged people. However, somewhere down the line, and I'm saying somewhere down the line because it's very difficult to peg the period in which this may have happened, a culture that set in was of trade unions, bargaining, less work than what was required, maybe quality control started getting missing, and a lot of PSUs earned a name which was not worth it. And therefore, they came under fire. It is not that every PSU was involved in it. I think some of the PSUs, and like I say, one bad fish muddles up the whole pond. So that is what exactly happened. There are some PSUs which performed extremely well, and they're still performing well. It is a question of how a PSU is managed properly. How do you create a team which is able to take things forward? If you put somebody for a short duration who probably has never worked in the coal sector, how do you expect that particular person to perform? You require somebody who has some knowledge, some prowess, some managerial skills to manage a large sector. And that is what the PSUs needed, but somewhere I think we were not able to provide it. And I would say we owe a collective responsibility for this kind of thing that has happened. Today, when we are talking of Atmanirbhar Bharat or how to indigenize, we need to look at our PSUs more carefully. We need to look at how can we ensure that timely production, quality production, innovativeness being introduced into the PSU, and they're not being dependent on the rules and regulations and the books that are thrown at them or they throw at people. Then you will find that PSUs will actually, they will outperform some of the private sector, because today private sector also has similar problems. We need to look at our PSUs carefully, and I hope that today's seminar would throw up a lot of options which will contribute towards making things better and finding more alternatives as to how we can make things better. With these, I finish my opening remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, General Sir. Honorable Minister of State, Road Transport and Highways, Government of India, also in charge of civil aviation as the Minister of State. Soon, under your leadership, we expect the PSUs to be flying high. Let us also congratulate you and the government for the Air India privatization. Immediately after you, there was a reshuffle and you took charge as the civil aviation MOS, along with Jyotiraditya Scindia. Now, let me bring in the first chairman of National Highways Authorities of India, because who better to speak? 1988, the first chairman NHAI, also the founder of the Greater Noida Authority, former Defense Secretary Yogendra Narayanan, 1965 batch UP IS.
Thank you very much, Vandita. A very warm afternoon to all the members of this forum. Our Honorable Chief Justice Balakrishnan Ji, General V.K. Shekhar, my old friend Dr. M.P. Narayanan, and so many others who have joined this forum. It's a privilege and a pleasure to be amongst you all today. I was asked to speak on the National Highway Authority, how I established it, how I founded it. And so I'll confine myself to that, plus some other remarks which I would like to make.
Initially, only the opening remarks. Right now, just the opening remarks.
So here I will just say that in the corporate sector, there are various forms of corporates. There are authorities, and there are regular boards with corporates. So I think we have to move in between the various forms of corporatization. And I hope to speak on the National Highways Authority later on. But we must learn from the best practices of each other. That is the mantra. And the other thing is that we must be the best in whichever field we are engaged in. And we must learn also lessons from abroad. Apart from indigenization of our own thoughts and our own principles, we must also be willing to learn from what is happening outside and adopt the best practices from there also. Thank you very much for inviting me to this forum. I will be speaking later on a bit. Thank you.
Let me also welcome Dr. MP Narayanan now, and let me also introduce Shekhar Dutt properly, because a lot of you guys might not be very well aware about the profile of his. He started as an armyman, guarding the boundaries of Rajasthan, Jaisalmer and all that, and then IPS, IAS, and then he became Defense Secretary, Chhattisgarh Governor. I mean, what else was left? We don't really know. So any which ways, before I bring in Dr. Dutt, let me also quickly bring in Dr. MP Narayanan, a bag of stories, how he handled the mafia, the coal mafia. I'm sure we can start with a couple of them. Are you looking very handsome, Uncle? Uncle Narayanan looking very handsome today.
That's right. When I see young man like you, it's better I look. Now tell me one thing, that coal mafia. Do you mean to say there is no mafia elsewhere in the country? There is a mafia in Delhi, let me tell you, apart from other places, apart from other industries. And you forget about it. The coal mafia really became quite notorious because of our own people. Somebody from within the company was trying to say, oh, it's a mafia which is giving. Coming back to that is a part, because later on I'll talk in greater details about it. When Dr. V.K. Singh, General Singh, mentioned about the PSUs, I entirely agree with him that in the beginning period, we had a lot of problems. And one of the main reasons, I mean, some of you, maybe even former bureaucrats and others, that's an bureaucracy's intervention with no all authority and no accountability. This is one of the reasons that appear. Nowadays, that is coming down a lot. The PSUs have started performing better. That's right. So far, coal sector is concerned, I can tell you for the last more than a decade, they are keeping up to the coal demand, quality-wise, quantity-wise, everything. They are doing it. And the ministries, also bureaucrats, also cooperating and coordinating with the coal sector. This is main point I'll have to cover. You want me to talk something more?
No, Uncle Narayanan, I know once you start, it's a
You can't
Gatiman,
stop.
it's a Gatiman Express. So let's stick to the Vande Mataram today. Gatiman will have it some other day.
Okay.
Okay. Now let me quickly bring in Justice K.G. Balakrishnan, former Chief Justice of India, Honorable Justice. Sir, again, I can't thank you more for your gracious presence.
General V.K. Singh and other all distinguished panelists. I'm very happy to participate in this function because I can know something about the working on the public undertaking. At some point of time, when I was in the NHRC, there were a series of complaints from some of the employees of the PSUs. Then we thought that there should be a corporate ethics and some of the ethical principles should be codified. And we started working on it, but I could not complete that work before that I left the NHRC. So we wanted to discuss the top guys in the PSUs and the trade union leaders. And it is some of you can even now think of to remove or curtail the human rights violation, alleged, not much, but so-called alleged violations of human rights in public sector and by the employees, so that there should be a codified form of ethical principles as regards the PSU. So that is a matter which can be thought of loudly by the various, because all our PSUs are by and large functioning well. That is our country moves forward because of the contribution made by the PSUs. I am happy to hear all the working and the contribution which is by the learned members who give their contribution. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Uncle Bala, thank you so much for your opening remarks. Major General Abhay Gupta, yesterday we had a long chat, coincidentally, and we equally echoed sentiments around the, inefficiencies also that circle around PSUs, circle around government machineries. Like the Ombudsman, we have a Central Vigilance Commission, but like the Ombudsman, do you think we should be having something for the PSUs? If not?
Thank you for this opportunity. I do not have personal experience of dealing with PSUs, but as a defense person, I've certainly used their products, especially the BEL and BHAL kind of products. Going by the PSUs in the defense sector, one finds that there is a fair amount of sluggishness. So as General VK had said, that culture of society, the trade union, that has set in. So that needs to be got over. There was a time when the nation became independent that there was no finance. Today we have reached a stage that private industry has surpassed in finance what PSUs are able to offer. So I think there is a case to reduce the number of PSUs. Thank you.
Honorable former Governor of Chhattisgarh, Shekhar Daji, sir, your opening remarks and views on the functioning of the PSUs, their contribution of the last 75 years, and we are going forward.
Good afternoon, everybody. Honorable Chief Guest, Justice Balakrishnan, Honorable General VK Singh, my old colleague, Shri Ugen Narayan ji, and all those very distinguished people in the panel. I must firstly congratulate Amit for taking this issue on for discussion, because India is now poised to become a much bigger economic of the world. It's not just going to rest in a couple of $1 trillion. It has to and will get over $5 trillion very soon. And I'm sure that in this decade, India will appear to be one of the leading players in economic world. Now, this kind of a scenario, our manufacturing and our production has to be also increased, and the share of manufacturing in the GDP has to increase from say 15% presently to around 30%. This would mean that we are not only going to have huge increase in the turnover, but also huge increase in the areas of the PSUs working, or not only the PSUs working, the corporates working. PSUs are part of the corporate world. Therefore, PSU have to be gearing themselves to become part of the competitive corporate world. And in a corporate world which is not competitive, as we know, the sectors in which they are working in, there's intense competition. The similar activity will have to be done in the sectors where the PSUs are working in, and there should be competition which should then take up issues and new products and the prices to be not only affordable within the country but also be competitive in the world. That means our export will have to increase. substantially. And I'm sure that that as we go on, putting all the corporate, and I include PSU in all the corporate activity of India, because we have seen this happening in the rest of the world. In fact, in 1991, when we did move into a more competitive world, USA, France, UK, in fact, were also they were very keen that India learns from their experiment, where gradually all the public sector activities were being handed over or transferred to the private sector. That therefore the private sector was increasing its activity. But even then, there were a lot of things in which public sectors in those three countries that I referred to are working in. Therefore, I would say that the test of eating is in its test of the pudding. It is in its eating, and the way the final product comes in, whether it is competitive, whether it is efficient, whether it is good in technology, all these three parameters will have to be judged. And I'm sure that India is going on the right path, and we will evolve a much better mix of production, but we will have to do it well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shekhar Dutt-ji. Let me now quickly bring in one very important gentleman, Dr. Shri P.K. Agarwal, the chairman of the Cotton Corporation of India. He has contributed immensely this year and to the 45 lakh farmers, especially considering the agrarian and farmer crisis over the last 2.5 3 years. General VK would be knowing that pretty well. And P.K. Agarwal ji, through his company, Cotton Corporation of India, has contributed in terms of helping these farmers. So quickly about what is the contribution CCI has done under your leadership, how it has impacted the country and the future of agrarian economy of this country. Could you just throw some light on that? Look forward to hearing from you, sir.
Thank you, Amit ji. A very good afternoon. Honorable Chief Justice, Justice K.G. Balakrishnan ji, Guest of Honor, General Dr. V.K. Singh ji, Honorable Minister of State for Aviation and Road Transport. Shekhar Dutt ji, former Governor of Chhattisgarh, stalwarts of various PSUs and corporates. It's indeed a great privilege for me to be a part of this August gathering on National Summit for PSU and Corporate Diamond Award ceremony arranged by Shri Amit Goenka ji. I congratulate Shri Goenka ji for taking this initiative, particularly during the celebration of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. I would like to say that Cotton Corporation of India was set up on 31st July 1970 under the administrative control of Ministry of Textile, Government of India. You all know that CCI undertake MSP operations, minimum support price operations, for more than 3 decades in the country as a sovereign function of the government to safeguard the interest of cotton farmers and to save them from distress sale in the eventuality when the cotton prices fall below MSP level announced by the government. Sir, it has been our initiative that the benefit of MSP should go directly to the farmer. DBT is transferred into their bank account, online within 72 hours. And whatever MSP stock we procure, we sell through open auction through a government independent portal. As a result, sir, I am glad to announce that during 2021, when we purchased around 90 lakh bales, there is no loss to the government because the cotton prices stimulated through e-auction competition, that the loss to the government is almost negligible. Only interest portion is there. I salute to the vision of our dynamic Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji, who visualized during pandemic time that the most affected category will be farmers and those citizens who get affected from COVID. Therefore, he immediately take a decision and exempted agriculture sector, banking, insurance, and medical from lockdown norms, so as to enable these institutions to help our cotton farmers and public at large effectively and efficiently. As told by Amit ji, during last two pandemic times, during 1920 and 2021, when there were no takers and the market nosedived, there were no taker of the cotton from farmers. They were deeply in distress. Cotton Corporation of India came forward and immensely helped them and procured around more than 2 crore bales from them. 45 lakh farmers were benefited, and we paid DBT of 62,500 crores directly into their bank account. It is also a pleasure for me to announce that with these unprecedented operations, CCI became #1 entity in the entire globe, which has handled such a huge operations during last 2 years. It's really, I think it is a dedicated efforts of my all branch heads, field officials, and board members who took immediate decisions, prompt action to help the cotton farmers. During my entire tenure as a board member in CCI, I have been privileged to serve the board in all the capacities. I worked as a director of finance. I worked as a director of marketing. Now for more than 2.5 years, I am working as a CMD. During this period, the company has been continuously paying dividend to the government. It's a good thing that our share capital is only 25 crores. And we have paid more than 100 crores to the government as a dividend during last 5 years. With these words, I am thankful to all of you.
Fantastic. Mr. Agarwal, I think this is what we wanted to know in brief about the contribution of PSUs, and right directly from the horse's mouth, dividends, CSR contributions to the economy in terms of, also economic crisis being handled, especially during the very, very unprecedented, unparalleled, and very, very challenging times of the last 2 years. Hopefully, we shall not be repeated in our lifetimes. Sri S.P. Mohanty, Chairman of PVFCL, he's been awarded for 2 categories. The company's been awarded for 2 categories. Chairman in the fertilizers category, Northeastern company based out of Dibrugarh, and they are going to be very important to connect the Northeastern territories to the mainstream of this country. Rajbhasha is one initiative of the government of India, which he has been driving as an individual chairman of a top company like Hindustan Insecticides Limited, and then BVFCL in a very, very vehement manner. SP Mohanty ji, briefly from your side, sir, contribution towards the nation, PSUs.
Good afternoon, Honorable Justice Sri Balakrishnan sir, Honorable our Minister General V.K. Singh sir, Dr. MP Narayan, all dignitaries present here, and top veterans from all PSUs. It's really a privilege for me to be in this forum, and I thank Amit Goenka ji for giving BVFCL a chance to put their highlights. Yes, I certainly agree that PSU culture has to be changed and has gone under change a lot. And my company in BVFCL, I'll tell you that this is the first gas-based plant in the country itself. When in Northeast, the gas discovery was there, and this plant came up to use those gases and to save the country from the fertilizer production. And today, I will be privileged to say before this August gathering that BVFCL is the one company which is producing urea at the cheapest cost in this country. Our average cost is 16,000 rupees per metric ton, whereas the industry average is 26,000 rupees. And if you see the imported urea today, which is a major crisis in the country, it is 70,000 per ton. So by this, we can just imagine that how much of foreign exchange is being saved by this company producing the urea. And yes, we are operating in a difficult terrain, that is Northeast. But during this last COVID period, and now after my journeying also, I am seeing that this company is able to cater to the nooks and corners of all Northeastern markets and making the fertilizer available at this country. Another thing I will say that not only for my industry, but as far as PSU is concerned, you can see that in fertilizer sector today, after this Ukraine crisis and other crises, maximum PSUs are producing in 100-120% capacity, and now they are saving the country by producing the urea and other fertilizers, so that the country's import is being safeguarded, and we can just cater our farmers in a proper time. So again, I thank you all the gatherings for this, and BBFCL will raise the flag high, and BBFCL will contribute to this nation in a much greater speed that I can assure to the August gathering here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mohanty. Thank you so much for your, succinct words on the performance of a current, very, very important PSU named Brahmaputra Valley Fertilizers Corporation Limited. Yogendra Narayan, Dr. Narayan, first chairman of NHAI, Greater Noida Authority. Sir, you've been the Defense Secretary also, and during your tenure as the Defense Secretary, you made George Fernandez get the bill approved. Some details on what it meant during those times, and how people like you could manage to do it in such a very, short span of time.
Thank you very much, Goenka Sahab, and good afternoon once again to all of you, and respected Justice Balkrishan ji, General V.K. Singh ji, Shekhar, and all the others members of this forum. I joined as the first chairman of the NHAI in 1995. The 90s had seen a great emphasis being given to infrastructure development, because we were finding the lack of infrastructure, whether it's in roads or ports or shipping, was giving big blockade to further development, economic development. And we found that India could not unleash its full potential without modernization of infrastructure. It is in this background that the National Highway Authority Act, which was of 1988, was operationalized in 1995, and I moved over from being secretary to the governor UP to Delhi government as to the central government as the chairman of NHAI. Now, the first thing I wanted to see is what are other countries doing in this sector. I had heard a lot about Malaysia, and I just mentioned in my opening remarks that we should be able to adopt the best practices in the sector we are working in, not only from our contemporaries in India, but also from outside. And when I went to Malaysia to see the North-South Expressway, as it is called, I saw how it developed and how, because of this development, the economy of Malaysia had picked up. So I wanted to go along the same way and to ensure the economic development of our country. Roads, even now, today carry 80% of the passenger traffic and 60% of the freight movement on the roads. And India has the second largest network of roads after USA. Once when I went to visit USA, also to see how they are managing their magnificent highways, I was talking to the official accompanying me from the US government. And I said, where do you get all this money? And he said, we get it through cess on gasoline, as he calls it. So when I came back to India, I found this to be a very good source of funding, because government didn't have enough funds for investment in roads and infrastructure in general. So I suggested a cess of 50 paisa per liter of diesel and petrol. After that 1 or 2 years, the cess was increased to 2 rupees per liter of petrol and diesel. And today, you'll be surprised that we are almost getting 54,898 crores. The point I'm trying to emphasize is that we should do out of the box thinking and adopt the best practices when we move in any area, because that is the best way of forward movement. And the national highways form the primary network in India of all the roads constructed. We have more than 4 lakh kilometers of roads, but national highways are the focal the basic spinal column of this structure. I also encouraged, and that was being followed at that time, privatization in infrastructure development. And we introduced what is called the build, operate, transfer mode, BOT as it is called. I also ensured that we could get modern machinery for road construction, because I found that when I saw the machinery in USA and Malaysia, and when I compared it to the machineries, road construction machinery in India, our Indian machinery was outdated, absolutely outdated. So I saw to it that there was a customs duty on import of modern equipment. So in this way, we developed this infrastructure and road infrastructure. And now, of course, it has gone further ahead. We've got this Bharatmala Pariyojana, where 22 greenfield expressways and access controlled roads are being built. We've got the Parvatmala, an extension again of the national highways, as the National Ropeway Development Program. When I moved over to the defense sector, one day I was sitting with Mr. George Fernandes, late George Fernandes, and he was our defense minister. And I said, sir, why don't you induct the private sector in defense production? Because defense production had been sort of a barred from private capital, private investment, and no manufacturing allowed in the private sector in defense. So he asked me to write a note. So I wrote a simple page note recommending that, as in other infrastructure areas, we should also go in for privatization in the defense manufacturing sector. And he just agreed on that note. In principle, he agreed. And of course, then there's a long story followed. And today we have all these ordnance factory boards also being corporatized. The 40 ordnance factories we have been converted into 7 boards. The thing I would like to emphasize here, and which I was emphasizing even at that time, is use modern technology in all the developments that are taking place. Our Prime Minister has also been emphasizing the use of technology. And I would only recommend that in all areas where we are working in, whether it's coal, whether it's cotton, or whether it's shipping or ports, use modern technology for speeding up the construction and development of the defense, not only defense, but in all other methods of production. I used the same thing when I was setting up the Greater Noida Industrial Development Authority. That was in 1991. And I used this modern technology, and I used this modern management principles, which I learned while doing my doctorate in advanced professional course in public administration in the Indian Institute of Public Administration. We must update ourselves. We must continuously improve our management practices and principles. And thank you very much for giving me a chance to recite what I did and to inform you of my the work in the road sector as well as in defense. And I hope India continues to progress under the present government in development of further infrastructure to keep pace up with the economic development of the country. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to speak out my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
आप
Narayanan.
पीछे जगह नहीं है, बैठो कबू।
I had requested all the guests to have the mics off, please. Anyways, Dr. Narayan, thank you so much. Because there's so much to learn from people like you, Dr. Shekhar Dutt, these kind of people. Justice Balakrishnan, sir, you are handling arbitrations for these PSUs. What is basically the nature of these arbitrations, and what is the impact they have on the entire economy? Because your cases are into huge amounts. So some light you would like to throw on the arbitration issues of the PSUs? Uncle Bala, please.
There are some arbitration cases pending against ONGC, NHAI, all these PSUs. That is, whenever there is a contract between the parties, it is bound to have some dispute. What I feel that sometimes the claims are a little inflated. There will be a claim, counterclaim. But it is after hearing both parties and lengthy arguments, we decide the issues. So it is a question of resolving the dispute between the parties. I don't think that it has got great impact on the working of the PSUs. PSUs is able to tolerate. They also engage good lawyers. They also take care of their interests. And most of them are retired judges. They are aware of their duties and all. So I don't think that it is a problem to be discussed. So I don't think.
Environmental aspects?
Environmental aspects are dealt with by the National Green Tribunal. So it is all. So they will before clearing the project. It was earlier. It was dealt with by the Supreme Court by the Green Bench, but after the constitution of the NGT National Tribunal, the matters are dealt with by the Green Tribunal.
Thank you, Uncle Bala. Vimal Vakluji, former CMD TCIL, your consulting organizations, you have huge technical know-how imbibed and gathered and accumulated over years. Do you also engage with the private sector, Mr. Vaklu, to probably have technical know-how collaborations which can directly and indirectly help the country? Or do you keep it all, confined to yourselves as a PSU?
Namaskar, Justice Balakrishnan ji, General VK Singh ji, all other distinguished panelists. Coming to this specific issue, I would like to mention that TCIL, of course, is not only a consulting organization, it has been also a project management organization. And collaboration with private enterprise has always been there right from the beginning. And that is how the company has actually grown. In fact, just to mention here that the total investment from the government side into TCIL was a total of 30 lakh rupees in 1978. And today, the turnover of the company is more than 1,500 crores. And this is all, and the government has not invested anything. And this is where exactly there are two aspects of it. One is that we need to learn, as was mentioned by another distinguished panelist, that we need to learn from other countries. Like one of the best country, of course, I'm not a fan of China, but they manage their PSUs well, and they know how to ensure that funds are available for PSUs, which has been a major challenge in our case. So we had no option but to tie up the private enterprise at the cost of our profits and share profits with them in proportion to their contributions. So this is a big challenge, and maybe to the other issues I'll come later, or if there is time, I can speak right now.
Let me now request former Governor of Chhattisgarh, former Defense Secretary, Government of India. Also, he was Director General Sports Authority, if I correctly remember, Shekhar Datte. Sir, you've been an ex-army man also, and you are a Senate Medal winner of the 71 war, if I correctly remember as well. So, well, I mean, the program has limited time, otherwise your curriculum vitae would take almost an hour. So, any which ways, sir, your views on the PSU's contribution to this country, and what is the way forward, especially considering the huge and immense emphasis on, selling of the house silver.
What was your question? Last one? Selling of the?
Silver, because LIC is one of the biggest.
I see. So privatization.
Yes.
Actually, since 1991, there has been constantly certain part of the government's holding being offloaded to the private sector. in many companies, including defense sector companies, and I was involved in them. One of our topmost electronic company of India, both in the private or public sector, is Bharat Electronics, headquartered in Bangalore and many other places. It's India's largest electronic company. And in 1991, we got it partially disinvested. And immediately a 10 rupee share became 2,900 rupees, so that means 290 times. And similarly, BHEL was offloaded, Bharat Earth Limited was offloaded. Many petroleum companies were offloaded. And this offloading of government share is going on. And gradually, the private management systems are also taking over. So you have boards with independent directors who can bring in much more independent views in the management of the companies, and the companies are going on. Some of the private sector companies, which again have been performing extremely well, and are not necessarily proprietor companies. Say for example, Larsen and Toubro is an extremely good company where the shareholders actually control, and from amongst the shareholders, the board is made. And Larsen & Toubro is one of India's best company in almost all sectors. And similarly, we have some very good companies which are able to take up projects outside India. I think one of the hallmarks is the ability to compete, especially in situations where there are other bidders as well. So in the defense sector, since the 1990s, the movement were on building up a number of private sector who could take up full or part or full of the activities. Say for example, Kirloskar. Now in all the projects of shipbuilding, and shipbuilding requires one of the most important areas where shipbuilding, apart from hulls and other things, is the engine. And India's Kirloskar has the capability and the capacity, and is going on entirely on its own with different kinds of collaboration with other countries. And Kirloskar's engines are accepted all over Indian requirement for the shipbuilders. Similarly, Bharat Forge, all the forging and all other things. Similarly, of course, Larsen & Toubro, Tatas, and Mahindra and Mahindras. And now there are a number of other companies which are also coming in with the full project management. I am of the opinion that we Indians should be able to take up larger projects, not only within the country, but also outside, by forming up a conglomeration or consortium. If we form up consortiums, then all our individual capabilities can support each other's capabilities, and we can take up. Now, the moment we do, we have products which are internationally known, and this phase of industrial development should be such that we are manufacturing making machines. These are called capital equipment. The capital equipment are very essential for manufacturing, and India almost all the time buys capital equipment from North America, West Europe, or Japan. So capital equipment manufacturing is extremely important, where we take up the areas of manufacturing goods from India itself. And gradually, I think we have to move into manufacture of capital equipments. Similarly, we have to, because of our incomes, because of our huge demand. Say, for example, I'll give you an example. The largest occasion of any of our engineered product meeting Bharat Mata ki dharti are the tires. So tires are in operation in both on-road and off-road situations. It is a sector on which we can have enormous amount of our own ability. That means we should make materials and we should make the tires. And if India produces the tires which are useful and efficient for India, then I can assure you we will be able to become a leading tire producer of the world. Because we've got almost all situations. We've got black cotton soil, we've got laterite soil, we've got different kind of other different kind of soil. Similarly, our requirement of the automobiles. So here the engines and other parts of the vehicles. So our demand itself is so large that if we are able to meet the demand from our own production, and how do we do that? We have to go in for consortium approach, where it is a joint private sector and public sector approach and meeting the challenge here. And everything should be determined through a competitive bidding, where even the maintenance should be done by the competitive bidding mode, so that we get the cheapest and the most efficient answer. And I can assure you that this time, with all these different new progressive policies which are coming, India would be able to make a mark in the manufacturing sector of the world.
So you are a unique profile, you know, as I've been reiterating in my previous comments, from being a Senate medal winner to an IS officer to governor. I mean, General Abhay Gupta, the NSG chief of 2611, the man who knows what bullets are, and you also know what bullets are. You both have faced bullets, you have used bullets on others.
Yeah.
Both of you know what bullets are. So
Yeah.
let me just quickly ask you, I mean, are we not still equipped enough technically to produce defense equipments, or are we still in the era of the Bofors, Rafale, or the Tejas?
I'll give you one example. You see, where we were completely denied any kind of a technology, we were denied. And we required it because you can't fight and win a war without missiles. So, and here the missile technology control regime was effective, and no country was willing to give us, and especially after we did two different nuclear tests, one in 1974, another in 1999. We were denied all this technology. There, we made our missile systems, and I was associated with this integrated guided missile development project, which was led by Dr. Kalam even before he was the SA2RM, or the scientific advisor. Even before coming to Delhi, he was doing that work in Hyderabad. And integrated guided missile development, we had Prithvi, Agni, and from Agni we went up to make different kind of ranges. So Agni 5 is an intercontinental ballistic missile. So it gets airborne, say in India, in 28 seconds, it is over Indonesia. Now, this kind of an ability which was generated for missiles is a demonstration that if we put all our acts together, we can design and we can then come out with the product. Similarly, we did a lot of these work in the electronic sector because again, we were denied and we were not allowed. Now, one big area where we have a problem and that we don't do semiconductor printing, except in the missile systems and the defense electronics. In defense electronics, it is the Bharat Electronic, which has semiconductor manufacturing for system. And similarly, in the missile sector, it is in DRDO at Hyderabad. Now, but this is not enough for our total electronic control systems need in all over Indian market. Not only defense. There are a lot of things which are common in defense as well as in civil. Say, for example, communication. It is the same communication network which is used also in the defense, and the communication network has to be secure, completely secure. But the communication network is maintained or in large.
Sorry to interrupt you, sir, but I know we'll carry on this detailed discussions on the entire issue in some other discussion. I request you to kindly stay the 25 more minutes. Okay, Dr. MP Narayanan, former chairman of Coal India. Sir, you headed Coal India in Calcutta, a state which was not in the right, kind of books of the central government, and it has never been. West Bengal has never been in sync with the central government. How do you think the center-state disconnect politically affects the functioning of a behemoth like Coal India?
The first thing I would like to mention, Mr. Amitji, that during my tenure, the turnaround was brought in. When I took over, it was 800 crores loss it was running. And when I left, it was 80 crores plus. That apart, coming to the government and the support of the interference part of it, if you are independent and if you take right decisions at the right time, I don't think the bureaucracy will have anything to say against it. It's only a question of when you really go to the morning and evening seeking advice and instruction, the problem comes in. I want to tell you 2-3 more things. Public sector, where when it was started by the government, people were criticizing. We were 13 million tons per annum production. Now we are 680 million tons. We are meeting total requirement of our coal, except the coking coal, which necessarily has to be imported for want of adequate reserves here. That is the only thing. Otherwise, coal-wise, we are completely self-sufficient. The third point I want to, because last time also you mentioned about the mafia, I wanted to clear this because whenever sometimes I go for a casual social get-together somewhere, what about the mafia in coal? Everybody is asking me this question. Okay, who are the mafias? Mafias are not created by Coal India. It is, the prior to nationalization, the private sector owners were keeping some of these latials for their personal protection. It is also understandable because they were always under some sort of a threat or whatever it is. Now, when we nationalized it, all these latihals, we had to absorb them. It is they who became virtually at some stage the coal mafias moving around, That's all. But even that has come down substantially. There's nothing you can call it as a sort of a coal mafia nowadays. It has come down substantially. The one more point I would like to mention is that the profits of Coal India is something nowadays substantial. It's, I can't give you the numbers as on date today because it's quite some time since I left, but profits are substantial and into the government kitty, and with the 680 million tons of coal being produced. there's no problem. Coal, we are absolutely almost getting into the second largest. We are already the third largest. The China and the USA are there. But in USA, the requirement of the coal is also coming down gradually. And we may be touching about 900 to 1,000 million tons very soon. These are about the coal. Any questions asked?
Sir, I'll come to your questions probably later to in the show, but we have so many people now. Justice Balakrishnan,
Please,
you know,
that's why I stopped with that.
Justice Balakrishnan, sir, a small question to you. I mean, it's not a googly. I'm sure you must have faced this a long time. What about monopolies vis-a-vis PSUs? The culture of monopoly creation vis-a-vis PSUs in this country. You must have handled many such or come across many such issues during your huge and illustrious legal profession. Uncle Bala, you need to unmute yourself. Balasa, you need to unmute yourself.
We have got a system to avoid monopoly in any system, but now I don't think it is a problem. Now the private sector, public sector all work in unison, so there is no monopoly for it. So, and the needs are more. Monopoly is when there is shortage of things and it is cornered by some interested persons. This is not the city. India is a large country. Here the demand is more. Monopoly doesn't. I have not come across any serious allegation of monopoly in any area nowadays.
Okay, Brigadier Ajit Apte. Apte sir. Apte ji, आपका कैमरा ऑफ है. आप अपने आप ऑन कर लेते हैं हमेशा. Brigadier Ajit Apte sir, are you there with us?
Can I raise an issue?
Yes, sir. Major General Abhay Gupta ji, please tell us.
I wanted to address the elephant in the room, which is equally awkward, that is of corruption. Now, corruption here in PSUs, unfortunately, is not only financial, but what we heard that when we were put to the anvil, we produced our own missiles. Therefore, is corruption also preventing genuine development? And what is being done? I'm sure a lot of things are being done, but how do we arrest it? Because if we want to become Atmanirbhar, then we have to ensure that our inherent dormant talents are given areas to rise up. So may I request views on this, please?
Anybody would like to answer this question raised by former NSG operations chief? Makluji?
Can I add one thing?
Yes.
You know, I somehow tend to agree with the position of the current government that the government has no business to be in business as such. This is where the challenges are. When, you know, PSUs are in a position where they can dictate terms to some people because they're in a monopoly situation, that is where the corruption happens. If, for example, they are in a competitive mode, there is less possibility of such a corruption. And second challenge, I mean, of course, there are some sectors where you can't help it, like we heard the story of Cotton Corporation of India, to ensure that farmers who produce cotton, which is needed, remains in, in a reasonable price band, so that the farmers don't get de-incentivized to produce cotton. Or for that matter, food in a selected way, not the way it is happening right now. We are providing MSP to all people for example, wheat and rice from Punjab and other areas, which finally is being fed to the rats in the various godowns because the quality is not exportable. And the people who benefit out of it is not really the farmers, is the middlemen. So that is where these elements of corruption happen. So government should be in business to the minimum extent to protect the interests of the country and not compete with the private sector. That's my view, and that is how you can reduce corruption also in public sector.
Brigadier Apte, Rafale. Brigadier Apte is an avid reader and a wonderful speaker, and he knows the systems, private and public, quite a bit, you know. Brigadier Ajit Apte, Rafale, and your views.
Amit, in fact, I think we've got some excellent views from different sectors and different, experts. I'll say just this much that what Shekhar Gadji covered as far as the defense production industry, even General concerned can you hear me, Amit? Hello. Hello. Amit, can you hear me?
Brigadier Apte, you can continue, please.
Yeah. So, one of the factors come in that we need to ensure that our PSUs, especially the defense industry, then all others that support this are well versed to gear up to any hindrances which can come because of international factors or even within our own country. So corruption, malpractices, then outdoing between the corporate and the private sectors is something we need to guard at. As far as Rafale is concerned, I think we have made a good decision, and at the same time, we must ensure that we parallelly build up our defense industry in terms of guns. I have visited Bharat Forge. I've been on the team of the gunners, the gunner himself, so you know that. I've been part of that team with Baba Kalyan, and we all brought out a various number of points, especially when Larsen and Toubro and Tatas are in competition with Bharat Forge. We need to take decisions quickly. We need to ensure that implementation action is guaranteed. Otherwise, I am afraid we'll just keep pushing the project further and further ahead. And I do definitely wish to bring out that the current Ukraine and Russia crisis and our over-dependence on the Eastern Bloc or even on other sectors, we need to be guarded that such situations should not hinder our production systems, whether it be at the industry, manufacturing, or any other project we wish to highlight and keep it in our different planning sectors for, let's say, 2 years, short term, mid term, or the long term perspective.
Brigadier Apte, before we get General VK Singh, because his network has had some problem, he's just calling me. He'll be joining from his mobile again. We'll be ending the show in 15 minutes, 10 to 15 minutes time. One question anybody of you can choose to answer, including the current chairman also. But before I bring that question into the show, is Ms. Divya Lal with us, madam? Madam Divya Lal represents a company called...
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, she represents a company called Philip Lal Education Private Limited. During the 2 years of pandemic, this online education system has played an inextricably indispensable role to keep the education and the youth flag flying in this country. The students, the community, the country should be indebted to these kind of people who run online education. She runs a system called Maths Tutorial System, a homework tutorial system, Madam is also been awarded as the Women EdTech Entrepreneur of the Year. So Madam Lal, just 3 minutes from your side on how challenging and how interesting and how rewarding this has been as far as the online tutoring system is. And then the women power. Definitely you represent the women power of this country.
Thank you so much, and a very, very big namaskar to all the big dignitaries that are there. It's an absolute pleasure to get an opportunity to interact and share my thoughts. I think I'm a firm believer that education defines the destiny of any nation. And I'm very privileged and I feel honored that I work in that space, enabling that if we are known to be the youngest country in the world, it will not just be on a matter of numbers, but on the quality that we can really drive. I think last 2 years have shown us a reflection of what's really happening, not to the visible eye. You know, today we have lakhs of children who don't have a school to go to. But what has the last 2 years shown us? That if we really reach out to every child, even without a brick and mortar school, we can give them a privilege of good education, an ability to understand and build their basic fundamentals. And I'm so thankful to our Prime Minister, Honorable Shri Modi ji, for his vision to go the last mile as far as connectivity is concerned. Because me and so many people like me are working day in and day out to enable better access and better quality in learning. And we all stand for that vision in doing various things. Today, FlipLearn works with about 400,000 children across the country. We work with government schools also across via NGOs in enabling them better learning, in helping people, change some fundamentals. When we say homework transformation, our idea is teachers should not carry 200 notebooks every day. Technology should be strong enough to actually autocorrect and give them the learning that they can implement in the class. So we are here as true warriors in enabling changes that will go a very, very long way. And thank you so much for this opportunity, Vision India Forum. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Madam, you should thank General VK, General Brigadier Apte, Major General Abhay
General
Gupta,
VK Singh,
this kind of
Balakrishnan
people.
sir. I've had the privilege to meet General VK Singh a couple of times, both in India and abroad, and it's been an absolute pleasure listening to him and his thoughts. Thank you so much to all the amazing dignitaries. It's an absolute pleasure.
His extradition, what do you call, all those trips of saving people ever since the Yemen crisis really makes it opportune for people like you to meet him even outside India. Anyways, let me because the general of the Indian Army, he can do anything. Let me let me also thank so much Justice Balakrishnan, because this kind of people spending so much of time it's an opportunity of a lifetime, and that speaks very highly of the quality of honest work that our entire team has been doing, including Brigadier Apte, Abhay Gupta ji, this kind of Dr. MP Narayanan and all this. Let me pose the question to any one of you. You see, do you think that we should have people who do not belong to the sector head organizations like Coal India? This question I have raised to Dr. MP Narayanan a few times. We have Mr. Pramod Agarwal, an IAS officer, sitting there as a chairman. You think we did not have anything better from the entire Coal India fraternity to head a technical sector like Coal India? After 35 years of experience, these guys reach. Dr. Narayanan, any views on this?
That's where I have my own personal views. There are enough people with considerable talent and competence within the coal sector. There is no need for them to have brought somebody who is absolutely new to the sector. Absolutely, I mean, and for a limited period. He will go away after 2 years. So the appointment is for 2 years or 3 years. And naturally, as an IAS officer, he would like to look forward to becoming an additional secretary somewhere or go to secretary. the interest of the sector, maybe.
I and General VK know additional secretaries pretty well.
Anyway, what I mean, naturally, if you are to be there and you have a chance in the cadre as an additional secretary, you would like to go there. Let me tell you one more, add this thing to the respected women panelists were here, Coal India has started employing women at various levels in the company, including the underground. They go underground, they are working in the open cast, they are working in the equipment management, everything is there. Gradually, it's no longer dominated by male.
Let me now bring the closing remarks also on the panel now. General, let me start with the closing remarks from Dr. Shekhar Dutt. Shekhar Dutt ji, probably 1 minute max, sir. Closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Amit, and thank you very much all the panelists, because this is a very useful discussion. And more than that, I think India is on the anvil of a much bigger, playing a much bigger role than what it has been playing. And that can only be done if our entire force can be unleashed. And nothing can actually prevent us if we have one quality and if we are able to produce things good for us, and we should be choosy to take the best. And the moment we do that, our production would become internationally acceptable and we will have exportable goods. Right now, the challenge is our goods quality has to be in any field. And most of these are also dual use. By dual use is what can be used in civil can also be used in military. And that's why I told about the vehicles. Big trucks, big juggernauts are, if we can make within India, we'll be able to make our own plants. So I'm sure that we'll be able to do that. And I thank Amit for picking up these issues in a form of a discussion.
There are many public sector category wise, Ratna wise, here basically today we wanted to celebrate the, the spirit of the PSUs, because today is the PSU day. And there are almost quite close to 200 PSUs who are still performing pretty well in this country. Central PSUs I'm talking about, which includes the Maharatnas, Navaratnas, Mini Ratnas category 1 and 2. And then actually they are the Kohinoors. I mean, I believe that they are the actual Kohinoors that we still have with us. Though the one lies with the English, but here we have 200 Kohinoors still with us. And when we talk about those Kohinoors, privatization is something which is now taking its steps very, very strongly. Current CMDs like Pradeep Kumar Agarwal and Mr. Mohanty, tomorrow if your organizations had to be sold off partially or whatever, what would be the reaction of your employees and how would you see or foresee that? Any one of you could start.
Well, here I will say that yes, government is in the right direction. The government has no business to be in business, but nevertheless, the PSUs which are doing well for the country, and as far as the employees' reaction is concerned, employees know very well that whether to perform or perish from this gambit of being in the business. So every employee of the organization is geared up for this. And it does hardly any matters for going to private or public. The thing is that now PSUs has come up to the mark of delivering for India. Thank you.
It's like a situation wherein you have represented both the teams. Anyways, P.K. Agarwal ji, your views, sir?
Amit ji, you are right. If the government discontinues with the MSP, it's a win-win situation for us also, because what happens in MSP operations, we have to buy more than market rate, because if the market is 3,000, MSP is 5,000, we have to pay farmer 5,000 rupees. And while selling cotton, we have to sell at the market rate. So most of the time, when huge operations are there, the market remains to be lukewarm or nosedived. So there is a possibility of loss, except this year, because when the market is stimulated and the prices rose, Now MSP is 6,000 rupees and farmers are getting 12,000 rupees from the market forces. There is no MSP in 21-22. So in case MSP is not there, I think our people who have experience of more than 30 years in technical lines for assessing cotton and evaluating it, they are competent to do commercial operations. CCI will be viable in commercial activities. I think it is a good situation. We will not be under obligation to buy and pay more than market rates. We will be buying as per market, we will be selling as per market. That will be a win-win situation for farmers because they will be getting good price as per market. Market forces themselves will be giving better price than the MSP while selling because of the e-auction system which we have introduced for last 3 years. Certainly give the best realization of the cotton which we procure. And in response to one query raised by someone that regarding corruption, now the time has changed. Everything is Aadhaar based. Even the farmer have an identity card, they have their land records, how much land they have, how much capacity to produce cotton. Everything is recorded in their passbook. So I think there is a least possibility of corruption in the present era when everything is online. We are transferring payment directly into their bank account. There is no middleman involvement in the system. So it's a good situation that the farmers are getting full benefit of MSP.
Okay, thank you, sir. Major General Abhay Gupta, you've handled the worst of human crisis in 2008. What would you suggest to the PSUs to learn from the forces? There are great leaders, but from the real, when you're on the battlefield, you've been into the Taj premises, and you can tell us how you handle the worst possible crisis and some learnings for the PSUs.
Thank you. The area that I would like to highlight is the interface between the user and the producer. So there is a number of kinds of equipment that we need actually when we go into such kind of operations like in Mumbai. For example, the hotels had very long corridor. Terrorists firing from one end could easily shoot right along the corridor. So you needed a bulletproof shield that was mobile and strong enough to take sustained automatic fire, but it was not available. Now, see the irony. The material is available, machinery in the factories is available, but on ground, we cannot progress operations and we are delayed. So that is the kind of interface between the user and PSU units which are into these areas. That will help you. So thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Justice Balakrishnan Saab, your closing remarks, especially considering, especially with respect to the kind of, post-pandemic era now that we are stepping in, hopefully, what are your suggestions as a luminary to the entire country, not only the PSUs, but private sector as well, because there is a huge rush for making up for the time and money lost over the last 2 years. People are squandering all over, all kinds of, mechanisms are being adopted. People are consolidating, they're entering into mergers, and consumer is going to be really affected. So a lot of things coming up for you, legal doyens. So your views on the days forward.
We need not scare the people. We have suffered since last 2 years. Every sector has suffered, but it is time for us to revive and come brightly. The opportunities for employment, new opportunities will come. I am completely optimistic in this area. I don't think that they will have any problem. But we suffered a lot, and we hope we can survive. When all our neighboring countries suffered heavily, India is still a bright star, no doubt, in this circumstance. That is only I can say.
Sir, you're, as always, the great CJI of India. I cannot talk over you, or nobody actually can, but the MSME are going to be in a real, tough situation going forward. They have been through the worst, That is what we are taking up next very soon, the lonely and lonely MSMEs. Anyways, before I now close it, let me quickly request Dr. Yogendra Narayanan, 1 minute, sir, if you are there still with us, your closing remarks, and then we go to General VK Singh for the minister who brought the Indians back. Before that, Yogendra Narayan, are you there, sir? Closing remarks, as always, Brigadier Ajit Apte. This time we'll close with General Saab because General Saab has had a great thing, you know, with him this time.
The Bazooka, that commercial.
Brigadier Ajit Apte, say your closing remarks, as always. Closing batsman, opening batsman, Vision India Forum.
Officer, Office 1, Office 2.
We've had a wonderful session. I must thank you, Vision India Forum, and you focused on the PSUs. As you said, today is the PSU day, the diamonds or the jewels. They play a very important part in the making of India Atmanirbhar. We've heard so many very distinguished speakers on different sectors. It's been a very enriching session. Everyone has brought out the highlights. All I will just say is that the PSUs need to work in tandem with different sectors, and some of them, like the multi-role roles, which can be taken on by producing something, as Shekhar Dutt said, that the same item could be used by the private sector, could be used by the defense also. Then another important point which General Abhay Gupta brought out is, I think, worth considering, because we need that kind of equipment to upscale and upgrade our own security systems, be them, the jackets or your CCTV cameras or your vision devices, whether they are the PNVDs or any other kind of device, which can be, again, in a multi-role. Then, of course, the farmers, the coal, the other sectors, they all complement each other. So I'll only give this much. And of course, Madam Divya Lal brought out a very important point about the education system and what she's doing. Great work. And it was nice to hear that even the coal industry has got ladies. Why that? The defense has got large number of ladies, and the National Defense Academy is now opening up to girls within a couple of months. So I think it's a good initiative. PSUs are definitely the jewels. And I'll just close on this note. We must thank General VK Singh for the great sterling work which he did in bringing back our students while this Russian offensive commenced on Ukraine. I think that's a very well brought out point right in the beginning by Mr. Shekhar Dutt. So I'd like to compliment my dear coursemate, General VK Singh, for the great work which he continues to be doing. Thank you, sir. And Amit, I think it's been a most educative, informative session. Justice Balakrishnan, of course, has given some wonderful views, so have all the others. On that note, I'll just say thank you very much.
Brigadier Saab, I must thank you so much. As always, you donned so many hats, and we've been privy to know about so many things from you, right from the Imran Khan episodes to the Vivian Richard episodes to your All India Radio commentary to fighting on the Bangladesh war. You left nothing under the sun. But those stories some other day, again, with all these new people who've joined us. General VK Singh, the closing remarks, Honorable Minister of State, Road Transport and Civil Aviation. First of all, sir, the forum congratulates you. The forum thanks you. We and our words can never express more about how at your age and stage and your responsibilities with the UP elections, with the two ministries that you've been in charge with, the Air India issues, the elections, the parliament sessions, how you managed all this. India should be indebted to people like General VK Singh. Nothing more I can say. Sir, over to you.
Thank you very much, Amit. And let me profusely thank everybody for some accolades that came my way. It's my bad luck that I was not able to listen to the whole discussion, but I did get the gist of it, off and on, as the network kept behaving. 2-3 things which we must understand. One size does not fit all. And therefore, when you look at PSUs, you must bear in mind that there will be PSUs which are needed. There are PSUs which are performing well because of the type of ethos that they have created, and therefore they must be retained. And there are PSUs where, for many reasons, it is not worth investing in, and they should be allowed to be privatized. However, when we look at privatization, the first thing that always happens is that you have the employees coming up with the issue. Look here, privatization means that if we don't perform, we'll be thrown out. Yes, I wish the government could also throw out people if they were not performing. Because today in this competitive world, it is performance that will matter. As the things are going, as our country is progressing, as we are looking forward to utilizing the various challenges and turning them into opportunity, I think we have got a very bright future. And therefore, harnessing the talent is a very important aspect that has to be done. See, there are PSUs which are in defense sector. PSUs in defense sector function in a different manner altogether, as Shekhar Dutt has alluded, as others have alluded to. All that I would say is that in defense matters, you have finite requirements. You have very high quality quotient that has to be put into it. And therefore, since the amount required is less, quality quotient is very high, you will find that the prices will always be high as compared to what is available otherwise. I mean, to give you an example, suppose you were to start manufacturing indigenously on your own with all the technology that has come, the Rafale. How many Rafales can you sell? Which industry will survive without selling? You will meet the finite requirements in a particular area, and after that it will lie, the whole facility will lie idle. So you've got to differentiate as to how PSUs will operate, and then ensure that you create conditions in which they can thrive, in which they can prosper, in which they can expand, in which they can ensure that they make a mark for themselves. Without that, no industry can do well. I compliment each and every speaker who's put in their views. There are turfs that have to be guarded. There are turfs that we must re-examine, and there are turfs which need to be retained because that is the requirement of the day. With these, once again, thank you very much indeed, everybody, for being part of this very, very dynamic and very interesting session that we have had. It has been a great session in the large number of sessions that I have attended, and each and everybody who participated in it deserve thanks of highest order. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you all. And we
Thank
look
you.
forward to meeting you guys again in the lonely and lonely MSMEs. Thank you. Goodbye.
Okay.